the very few conservative-minded university professors remaining on the planet, he holds the oldest chair at the University of Queensland Law School, where he is the Garrick Professor of Law. Please welcome Professor James Allan.
Thank you very much. They needed someone to speak that the Americans could understand, so pretty much me. It's nice to be in a room with sane people. I work in a university, so it's a little bit unusual. I don't know if Nigel's here, but I just want to say he is the man who brought us Brexit, which was a great thing. Just think he did. I was chatting to him last night, and with that kind of, influence on the world, I said to him, Nigel, what about your legacy? What do you want people to be saying about you in 100 years? And Nigel looked at me and he said, Jim, in 100 years, I think I'd like people to be saying something along the lines of, isn't it remarkable that he's still sexually active? He didn't say that, but I think he was thinking it. Just speaking of Brexit, there's a thing called the Times Higher Education Supplement. And back just before the Brexit referendum, 9 out of 10 academics, over 90%, said they were going to vote Remain. So 9 out of 10 wanted this super nationalist, non-democratic body. And remember, the actual vote was 52% Leave. So, and of that, 40% of said these academics, if there were a Leave vote, they were going to leave. They were going to leave the country. Now that never happens. It's like Hollywood after Trump. It never happens. It's just a typical posturing, bumper sticker moralizing, virtue signaling. And I got to tell you, this is my favorite story about Brexit before I move on to Australia. But after the Brexit vote, there was a Cambridge University academic. Her name was Victoria Bateman, and she was so distraught by the vote, by the ill-informed, know-nothing, native, sort of nativist, racist, misogynist, small Englanders. That's why I would have voted for Brexit, but I think other people had a different view. But she was so distraught that she went to her first Cambridge University economics department meeting after the vote, and she went naked, no clothes. She'd written on her breast and stomach, Brexit leaves Britain naked. Now, I don't profess to speak for everyone, but I think we need more protesters like Victoria Bateman. And that's not just because, based on the photos, she was extremely pulchritudinous. You can look that one up. But I always think if you're going to be condescending and dismissive and against democracy, then the very least you can do is show up to faculty meetings naked. And if anybody out here is looking for an academic economist, let me recommend Victoria Bateman. She's not just ambitious, she's nakedly ambitious. So I got to paint you a picture of where I work. I work at one of the oldest universities in Australia, G8, elite. We don't even take 0.5% of the students who apply to us. And so this is the sort of, according to the Australian Green Party, this is the home of the fair dinkum Australia battler. So that would be Adam Bant's view of what the median voter looks like would be a G8 university campus. So some days, about mid-morning, I'll venture out with colleagues for a coffee at the local Merlot's right on campus. It's the busiest Merlot's in Brisbane. And, I can tell you, academics think they work hard. Well, I spent a few years working at a big law firm in Toronto and then at the bar in London. I can assure you that academics do not work hard. Heck, I don't work hard. So, but, we wander down to Merlot's, and some of the patrons there will be ordering their half macchiato on soy milk. And, others will be having decaf flat whites on almond milk. And then you'll notice people who are asking for cappuccinos on oat milk because someone has told them that almonds use up too much water. So they've moved on to oat. Taking regular milk the way I do, very judgmental stares at you. Every second person has a nut allergy. Who knew? Gluten-free brownies are the order of the day, and it's better if they're baked in some anti-capitalist collective commune run by lesbians. But Until very recently, lots and lots of customers, and I'm not making this up, lots and lots of customers would pull into the university car park fully masked, and they're in the car by themselves. I do not know what part of the science TM dictates that sort of behavior. So you can see how shocking it is. They were so petrified during the lockdown. So many people wearing masks. I went in every day because we didn't have much of a lockdown in Queensland. You people in Victoria, I don't know how you did it. I think I would have been at the ramparts. But at any rate, let me just quickly, I've got enough time to quickly compare the ABC with a university campus. So remember the ABC. So we give them, what, $1.4 billion a year. When you look at their main television current affairs programs, there's not a single producer, presenter, anyone who you can identify as a right-of-center person. When James Dellingpole came out here, remember he said the ABC makes the BBC look like Fox News. I think that's about right. And I think that's right, actually, and it's worse even than the CBC. I'm Canadian, but the former managing director, Mark Scott, and it goes without saying that he's now a university vice chancellor because, that's the same sort of crowd. Well, Scott, when people would point this out, he would often say, you don't need that because my top-class journalists, they all look inside themselves and they do their best to be impartial and disinterested. Can you imagine that sort of response if everyone were a conservative journalist? Or even imagine this. Imagine that all of the ABC top people were men, and some women quite rightfully objected to this. And can you imagine the managing director of the ABC saying, well, look, all the men, they look inside themselves and they do the best job they can to present a women's point of view? There's just absolutely no chance that would work. All right, so here's some figures about universities. They're pretty bad. In the US, we know this because donations are public information. So because of that, and because they do a lot of surveys, at top-level US law schools, it's about 8 or 9 to 1 donating to the Democrats than to the Republicans. And outside of the Ivy League, it's worse in the sense of more imbalanced. If you're a university administrator, then it's better because you're trying to get rid of them all. But so that's shocking, and the reason why it's better in Ivy Leagues is if you're going to hang in there and sort of be a tiny minority, you'll do it at Yale and Harvard. You probably won't do it at Vermont. So and that's law schools. There are whole university departments where you cannot find a conservative. We all know what they are: women's studies departments, Aboriginal studies departments, sociology, politics isn't very good anymore. Economics, although we do have Miss Bateman, so I don't want to be too critical of economics, but Jonathan Haidt, who's a center-left guy, but very unhappy about the collapse of viewpoint diversity. Because one of the reasons I think we have this collapse in viewpoint diversity is in the name of diversity, and what universities and now corporations, big law firms, what they do is they find some desirable job, and then they take some group, it's arbitrary, and they look at the percentage of the group on the corporate board or in the attractive, desirable job, and they look for statistical equivalencies, right? They never pick bad jobs. They never say 95% of jobs that where people die on the job are held by men. That's true, and only 5% of women are dying on the job. So we got to get 90% more women out there dying on the job. We need statistical. They never do that. And the problem with the diversity thing is that conservatives like me, I don't want that. I want to go with merit. I wouldn't even go for quotas on viewpoint diversity. But it is killing the number of conservatives on campus. There are very, very few of us. So if you took someone like me, I could never be dean because, to be totally honest, I'm not doing an acknowledgement of country. I think it's patronizing, demeaning, and condescending. And I have yet to see the university vice chancellor who actually gives her or his house to an Aboriginal person. Because if you really believe it's stolen land, then the implication is you should get it out of your house. But that never happens. I never see that. So you could probably become a dean without any problem at all if you refuse to stand for the national anthem, no problem. So it's a very one-sided thing. Let me finish with a quick joke, because I think we need to take the piss out of Green Party voters. So I'm going to finish with the story of the Warren Mundine walking down the beach, and he stumbles on this little ancient-looking bottle. He rubs it, the genie comes out. The genie says, "You know what? I'm a special genie, you get 3 wishes." So Warren goes, "Really? Why are you special?" And the genie says, "Well, everything you get, every Green Party voter in Australia will get 2 of them." So Warren says, "Okay, well, I'll have $1 million." She blinks her eyes. She says, "Now remember, every single Green Party voter in Australia now has $2 million. Because they get twice what Warren gets. What's your second wish?" He goes, "Oh, I'll have a German sports car." So she blinks her eyes. She says, "Now remember, every Green Party voter in Australia now gets double that, so they now have 2 sports cars. What's your third and final wish?" And Warren's a smart guy. He thinks about it for a second, and he goes, "You know, I always wanted to donate a kidney."